Christmas is over, New Year's is over, and we've got a new trial. Yep. First thing, well, Monday, they picked a jury. Yesterday, we had opening statements. I did cover those live. So if you want to go back and catch those, I'll put a link up here in the eye. And I'm going to tell you all about what occurred in Uvalde, Texas back in 2022. Stay tuned. Watch the intro and we'll get right into it. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. We got a new trial. Finally. The holidays are over. I still have the tree up. Apologize. Anyway, Uvalde, Texas, 2022, May 24th. We have yet another school shooting involving 18-year-old Salvador Ramos, who was killed 77 minutes after he entered the school, killed 19 children, 2 teachers, and injured 18 other people, including his grandmother. Yeah. But before we get into that, like who's charged, what are they charged with? If you wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up button, I would really, really appreciate. And please join us here on this channel. I recap live trials so you can have something to do while you're crafting, like if you're diamond painting or painting or crocheting or whatever, putting together those frustrating Lego builds. Watch this while you're listening. So let's talk about this crime. Adrian Gonzalez, he's 50-something year old. He's been charged with 29 counts of child endangerment for children under the age of 15. Yeah, he placed them, according to the prosecution, great bodily harm, in danger of great bodily harm, injury, and death. That's the whole charge. Times all those children that we talked about. He has pled not guilty, and there we are. We have a trial. At the time, May 24th, 2022, he worked for Consolidated Independent School District, which is the entity overseeing the schools, including Robb Elementary School. Now, Robb Elementary School did not have a full-time school resource officer, and that's what Adrian Gonzalez was. He was a full-time school resource officer at the high school, which was not far away. So here's what happens this morning. I'm going to kind of paraphrase the prosecution's opening. On the morning of May 24th, around 11:29 and 29 seconds to be exact, a truck comes barreling down this road, there's a sharp turn, totally misses that turn, overturns in a concrete drainage dish. It ends up right. He actually doesn't overturn. He kind of just spins out of control, and he comes to a stop, and this is the shooter. Now, this is all witnessed by employees of the funeral home that is right across the street from Robb Elementary. Now, one of the employees was the first person to take the stand. So we're going to summarize everything he saw, what the surveillance cameras at the funeral home saw, and we're going to hear the 911 call that he placed there. But what happened that morning is that Salvador Ramos had shot and injured his grandmother, gets into this truck. His grandmother survived. He gets into this truck. He doesn't know how to drive. And he proceeds, and what people don't know is that he had announced on social media that he was going to shoot up the school. So he ends up spinning out into this drainage ditch. His car, he abandons the car and he flees. Now, 2 of the employees from the funeral home, including the first witness, they start heading, what you would naturally do when there's an accident. You go and you see that is the person okay? And this responder, he was also a full-time pastor in addition to working at the funeral home. So he's rushing over there to see if this guy is fine. And the guy pulls a gun out. He's like, points a gun at him. So they hightail it back the other way. And he was shooting at them, but he missed, thank God. So they get back to the funeral home. They're calling 911. Meanwhile, this guy makes his way to the parking lot of the school and is between two cars when Adrian Gonzalez, who gets the radio call that there's been an accident, because 911 was called, they put out the bulletin that this guy had an accident, he's armed. So here comes Adrian Gonzalez in his car, and there's an open gate in the back of the school. Why it was open, we don't know. He drives through that gate, and according to this witness, this first witness, there's no way that Adrian, he didn't know this was Adrian Gonzalez. He says there's no way the driver of that car would have seen this guy hiding between these two cars in the parking lot. They just wouldn't have seen it. So, and the witness says he was shooting children at what they call a pavilion. Now, there's no evidence that anybody was shot at the pavilion or that any shots were fired at the pavilion, but this is what this witness says he saw. Anyway, the shooter makes his way across the playground. Now, meanwhile, the teachers are evacuating. They're getting their kids back into the building. They're putting them into classrooms. They're doing what they are trained to do. And the prosecution is very pointed, they're making the point that they didn't freeze up. They went in and they did their job. They did what they were trained to do. And that's get the children into the classroom, get that door locked, get the lights off, get them away from the windows, and hide as best you can. And that's what these kids and teachers were doing, armed with scissors. You're going to hear, we heard from a teacher witness at the end of the day who said another teacher had come up to her. They tried to get a game plan, going, and she hands her a pair of scissors to, arm herself. So the kids see this, so they start getting their little scissors out of their desk, and they've all got their little safety scissors in their hands. And oh God, what a nightmare for those kids. So anyway, he makes his way alongside of the building, and he's shooting in every single window outside of the building. As he's going, he's just shooting. And this guy had hundreds of rounds on his AR style rifle. He makes his way through a door that should have been locked, but was not. And makes his way into classrooms 111 and 112 and starts shooting children. It isn't for 77 minutes until after he enters that building that he is shot and killed. And it wasn't by anybody on the local police force. It was from a different agency altogether that finally gets in there and does the job. So it's alleged in this case that Adrian Gonzalez had certain information from witnesses, including the guy at the funeral home, the teachers that were relaying him information about the suspect. And what he was doing was radioing that information to other officers instead of doing what he was trained to do in an active shooter situation, which is go towards the gunfire. You go towards the shooter. Now, this is something we learned in the Scott Peterson trial. I don't know if you guys remember the Scott Peterson trial down there in South Florida when Nicholas Cruz shot up and killed 17 teenagers at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Scott Peterson was the school resource officer, and he was charged very similarly, child endangerment, and found not guilty because he was doing something very similar. He's making the same arguments that Scott Peterson made, that you can't tell where the gunfire is coming from. It reverberates on the building, so you don't even know where you're supposed to run, except the witnesses were pointing out he went in this door. This door, you hear on the 911 tape, the funeral guy saying, that door right there, that door. He didn't go. He didn't enter that door. So it's alleged that he failed to engage, distract, delay or impede this guy's progress within the shooting. It's so sad, so sad. So he failed to go towards the gunshots, failed to follow his training, his active shooter training. So this case is going to be all about what did he know and when. So a lot of timeline stuff going on here. And that's how the defense presented their case, in the form of this timeline, starting at 11:29 when we see the truck spin out and land in this drainage ditch. So apparently this guy was a 10-year veteran with thousands of hours of training. So that we're going to hear a lot about his training. And unfortunately, this trial is probably going to go into my vacation next week, but I will do my best. I'm going to be on a cruise ship, so I don't know if I'll be able to cover the trial, but I will make sure when I get back, I catch you guys up with everything that has occurred. And because of yesterday, something happened that may make this trial end early altogether. Yeah, it had a crazy ending yesterday, so you're not going to want to miss that. So just based on what I heard from the opening statements, the gate was unlocked. The radios, apparently the police radios didn't work inside the building, which really doesn't have much to do with Adrian Gonzalez, but what? There was no full-time officer at the school. And the school door, that door, they call it a Columbine door. It is designed to be locked from the outside, inside or outside? Outside, I think. And only teachers have the key. And even substitute teachers, if they want to get in and out of that door, they have to have the key. But in this case, an investigation showed that that door was breached all the time. The teachers knew all they had to do to get this door open was use a magnet. And so the substitute teachers knew this, and they would use magnets just to open the door. Now, how he got in that door, why it wasn't locked, we don't know. But, it's named after the Columbine shooting, for heaven's sakes. All right, so the first guy on the stand is this funeral guy. We don't get to see his face. Some of the witnesses, the first few witnesses, they don't want their faces shown. And I understand. He's a full-time pastor, and he was really shook up. He was like, when he was describing what happened, we couldn't see his face, but you could tell he had a tissue in his hand. He was very emotional. Even Adrian Gonzalez was fighting back tears. You could tell he was fighting back tears, listening to the 911 call and watching the video. So there was a hearing outside the presence of the jury before all of this even started about autopsy photos and whether those would come in or not. They're coming in. They're coming in. They always come in. I hate it, but it always happens. I always say, I don't need to see them. I believe you. It was horrendous. It was outrageous. I believe you. I don't want to see the photos. If I was a juror, I'd be closing my eyes. No, I don't want to see it. You don't need to convince me, but there is case law precedent for the entry of those autopsy photos, and the judge has to follow the case law, and it says they come in to help the jury's understanding of what went down. I think they understand. This is a very tight-knit community. It is full of immigrants. Well, at the time, it was full of, I don't know what it's like now. At the time, it was full of immigrants. A lot of these people were undocumented. That this occurred. The courtroom was packed, family members there. Yeah. Anyway, Gilbert Lamons takes a stand, full-time pastor, part-time works at this funeral home. He was actually in the crematorium when they hear this accident. So he goes out to respond. Him and another worker, they walk out, and like I said, they start to approach the vehicle. The guy's out of the vehicle with a weapon.
And does this red line, is that an accurate depiction of the way you saw the gunman walk?
Yes, sir.
Would you trace that so the jury is kind of faint? Okay, so first you see him walk to the south end?
Yes, sir.
And then walk back all the way up to the north end. And so you got out of the funeral home. Where were you and where did you go?
I was right here in the hallway, and I was walking when I was told that there was an accident. So we walked out, and we started walking this way. When we saw the dust here, we began to run. I stopped here to look this direction to see if there's any vehicles were coming. And then I crossed over, and I walked right about this area right here. And I saw the gunman, and that's when I called out to him and said, "Hey, sir, are you okay?" He didn't say anything at all. He just kept looking at me, and that's when I heard someone yell. I didn't know who it was. I just heard someone yell out, "He has a gun!" And I stopped, and I'm like, "What gun?" And that's when I saw him, pull the gun out
With the black
with the back that looked like a black post. And now afterwards, I realized it was the weapon.
Okay. Thank you.
But then they're watching what's happening, and he's calling 911. He was actually calling 911 as he's approaching this vehicle. And I'm going to play that call for you now.
Uvalde County 911. Yes, ma'am. Somebody just had an accident over here. I know you're just. You think I didn't really? Let me kill your gun. I'm shooting gun. Oh my God! They just got shot at us. They shot at you? Yeah. This is the guy from the school over here. He's in the back. He's having a cheering at the school. Hurry, please. He's in the bed. Oh my God. Oh my God. He's jumping into the schoolyard. He's jumping into the schoolyard, man. Are you in the schoolyard? Yes, he just jumped up on the fence. He's running towards the school. Oh my God. He's wearing black. He's up against me. Please hurry. Okay, we do have multiple officers sitting out that way. You said he's wearing black? No, yes, he's walking. He's walking across to the lobby here right from the funeral home. Where it's coming from at the funeral home. Oh my gosh. Okay, now he's running officers that are heading out that way. What do you think? There's kids out there. There's kids out there, please. Oh, he's shooting at a truck that's going by. Hurry! Yes, sir. We have multiple units heading out that way. Oh my God, these kids. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Oh my God. Father, please, in the name of Jesus. Oh my God. Lord, please. Father God, in the name of Jesus. Father, I'm asking you to please. He's going to the school. They got to hurry. Yes, sir. I mean, I know what oh my God, he's about to shoot. Oh my God, he's shooting at people. Maybe he's shooting. Oh, Jesus. Hallelujah. Oh, in the name of Jesus, I just ask for you. I can't believe it. Oh, in the name of Jesus. Oh my God. Oh my Lord. Oh my goodness, he shot at us. Oh my God. They're shooting. The Uvalde school is out there. Okay, so the dive officers there, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect with you, okay? Okay. Sorry. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now, there's a second phone call that he makes. Once they realize, once they're back in their building, they're secure, they're back in the building, he makes a second call to talk about this guy shooting up the school. And that call's chilling. Okay, here is that call.
You got to kill someone. Get it back to school. Okay, then we do have God, in the name of Jesus, he's inside the school shooting at the kids. He's like, no! Oh my God, you were in the school. Yeah, we have multiple units inside of the school. They have locations inside the school. Oh my God.
You can hear the shooting. And he is like screaming and like imploring someone to go in that door. Like he's imploring, get him here. Somebody's got to respond. What he doesn't know is that there's a line of police cars on a side road, and they're not. Adrian Gonzalez is the only one in a police car that drove into the scene at the back of that school and stood at the south end of that building. Now we're going to see timelines about where he was, where witnesses were, where the shooter was at various times. And all of that's going to be very, very important. So he makes the first 911 call. The second one you heard was 4 minutes later. 4 minutes later, you guys, and the shooting is now occurring. Yeah. Then on the video at 11:29, I'm going to tell you what's on there so you can kind of watch. It's the parking lot view of this school, of the funeral home. And then directly across the street is the drainage ditch, and the school is off towards the left a little. So if you're watching when you watch the video, look at the top of the screen, just the top third of the screen. Focus your eyes there. Now, later on during the second 911, you can focus your eyes on that little side row where you see the police cars starting to line up. But anyway, you see the truck at 11:29:29. You see the truck swerve out of control, land in the ditch. At 11:30 and 16 seconds, you see this guy get out and jump the fence. At 11:31:22, he enters the parking lot, and he's between two cars when at 11:31:42, 20 seconds after he's in that parking lot between those cars, Adrian Gonzalez's car, you'll see, comes around that corner and goes through that gate and is at the south side of the building. Between 11:31:42 and 11:33:35, this witness says kids were being shot at the pavilion. Now, like I said, there's I don't think we're going to hear any evidence that there was any shooting that occurred at a pavilion, anyone was injured there. But it's not until, these 2 minutes pass that these guys on the side here, these police cars that are parked on the side, start responding to the scene. Wow. So here's the video footage, and you're going to get two different angles. There's one that's a parking lot angle, and then there's one that's sort of their front of their building it's the front of their building. And you get a much better visual of the school. You can kind of see, if you look really hard, you can see the little guy kind of moving across the field, and he's not running. According to this witness, he's walking very nonchalant across the field. Nonchalant was his word. He enters between those two cars, and then you see Adrian's car pull in. And according to this witness, there's no way Adrian Gonzalez could have seen that guy between those cars. So here is that footage.
The numbers in the top hand corner that are rolling continuously,
Yes, sir.
does that appear to be the correct and accurate time as to when you saw these events?
Unfold, yes, sir.
Okay. And tell us what angle we're looking at this point.
You're looking at the side parking lot of the vehicle as it's facing Rob's School. It's on the entrance where the accident really happened.
And where is the ditch where you saw the vehicle wreck?
May I approach the,
Yes.
it's right here. This is the side, the front of the office is on this side, and you'll see us walking through here to go across.
Okay. And so what we're about to see then is that vehicle wreck, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And does it also depict you coming out to check on it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, would you pause it for a second? So, Mr. Leon, so I think what we're about to do is about to get to that point. I just wanted to point that out to you. We're just about 10 seconds from what was the original wreck.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So was that the wreck?
That was right. Yes, sir, that was right.
And the next thing we'll see then is you and your cohort going over to check on it.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, we have 11:29:05 on the counter. Do you see yourself on that video?
Yes, sir.
And would you point that out for the jury?
That would be the first person on the right-hand side.
You'd be the person on the right-hand side?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And so did that fairly and accurately depict that when you turned and ran and came back in as the shots were fired?
Yes, sir.
How many shots were fired?
To us, I couldn't tell you, but to be honest with you, there's quite a bit. I just remember bullets grazing us.
So it was more than one.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Thank you. Could you just tell us what is this gunman doing at this point?
Yes, sir. At that point, I'm already inside the building and I'm at the far right-hand office right here at the corner.
Okay.
And I'm watching him and I'm calling 911 and telling them that I saw him where he jumped up. He threw first a duffel bag across. And as soon when he threw the duffel bag, then he jumped the fence himself and then he started walking towards the school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll watch now until we get to 11:31:36 and ask you what we see there. Stop. Stop. And so around 11:31:36, is that when we saw the white car?
Yes, sir.
And is that the white car that you saw drive to the south
Yes, sir.
end of the building?
Yes, sir.
And the next camera angle will show better where that car was. Is that
Yes, sir.
correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, do we see other police cars arriving at this time?
Yes, sir. I see them arriving over here at this time.
At that intersection
Yes, sir.
of where the wreck happened?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is the time on the counter?
11:32:25.
Thank you. Get this stopped here. And we have it at about 11:33:35, and I'll ask you to describe what you see happen as we start it back up.
And honestly, I didn't know that the police officers were in that corner. I guess that's when I was with 911 calling, looking at towards the school.
You were looking at the other direction.
Yes, sir.
Very well.
Because that vehicle, because I'm like trying to figure out, okay, where, all I remember is a UPD
Sure.
officer showing up, and I didn't know they were stopped right there.
You didn't actually see it, but do you have any reason to believe this wasn't accurately depicting the events as they occurred?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. Start it back. Okay, stop it here. Mr. Lamont, do you see another white car there at that point?
Yes, sir.
And is that the second car that you saw heading the same direction that the first white
No, I
car?
never saw no other vehicles other than just a white one. And this is the first time I've ever seen this.
Okay, we'll look at the next section then.
Okay.
Okay. Well, would you note the time is 11:34:57? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I think now we're going to move to a front angle, which may be a lot more closely aligned with what you actually saw.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And this may help you describe for us those two white police cars that came up.
Yes, sir.
Fair enough? So as we start, could you tell us what we're looking at?
You're looking at the front end of the funeral home,
And where is where is the Rob School?
directly across the street in front of the funeral home.
And on the screen, is it on the left side of the screen or the right side of the screen?
What is the Rob School? It's on the left side of the screen,
And where does the wreck occur?
on the right-hand side of the screen.
Thank you. Stop it. Can you see the man who had the wreck and pulled the gun on you at this point?
Yes, sir.
And would you point that, you might have to stand up, but point that out for the jury.
Yes, sir.
He's right there. And what's he doing as we stop the camera right there at 11:30.16?
He was jumping the fence at that point.
He's jumping the fence,
Yes, sir.
and now we're gonna see him walk toward the Rob School.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you might just point it out one more time as he starts walking, just so make sure we see him.
Yes,
It's
sir.
kind of small from here. Yes, if you will.
This is where he's walking right now. He goes out of view for a little bit because there's a bush there. And he starts walking this direction. And that's where he's at.
Okay. And now look, you see, it's just a very dark garb walking across the school ground.
Yes, sir.
And would you tell us to stop the video when he gets to the parking lot?
Yes, sir. Right there's where you're starting to step foot into the parking lot.
11:31, about 21 or 22.
And as you can tell, he's walking in between the two vehicles at that point.
He's walking between the vehicles at 11:31, around 21 or 22. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And now we're going to move ahead about 15 seconds. I want to ask you what you see there.
Yes, sir.
Well, I may have misjudged the time. Stop. So it's 11:31:42. Can you tell us what we saw there?
Yes, sir. That's a white vehicle that I saw approaching into the schoolyard.
So about 20 seconds after the gunman reaches the parking lot, then you see a
Yes, sir.
white car and it's headed toward that same direction. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we can start that up. And you can stop it there. So around 11:31:50, he's out of sight, but he's close to that south side of that last.
Yes, sir.
Is that
At that, when what I remember seeing is that the gentleman was between the two vehicles towards the front end of the vehicles, and that's when I saw the white vehicle that was going really fast that went right by him.
So the gunman was still at the southwest side of the building.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's move forward then to 11:33:25. Okay. You stop it. Around 11:33, did you see a police car then leaving and driving that direction?
That direction, sir.
Okay. I want to ask you, because it's quiet, y'all didn't pick up sound, is that correct?
Correct.
But during this whole period of time, from when you saw the first white police car at 11:31, until the police car left at 11:33:25, what was going on at the school?
That time there was that's when the shooting was happening outside. That's when he began to shoot the children at the pavilion first. That's what I was watching.
So you were watching the gunman shooting children at the pavilion,
Yes, sir.
and then did you see what the shooter did after that?
After he was treating the children, I just saw the children, kind of all ran away from the school. And then I saw him walking towards the south end of the building, and then started at every window and just randomly would just get the gun and shoot inside the windows.
And when he was shooting, that was after the white car had already gotten to the south end of the building.
Yes, sir.
And did you hear one or more than one shot?
He was shooting at every window as he was walking down. So there was a lot more. I don't know how many windows there was there, but he was shooting at every window up until he got to the entry door.
And did that give you concern?
Absolutely.
Now, there's a police officer that takes the stand next. He is a firearms, he's just giving, they always give their background and education, which I always put on 1.5 times because I've heard it a million times. But anyway, he's the SWAT guy. He's trained in firearms. He trains other people in firearms, and he's got a long history of police employment to the point where he becomes a Texas Ranger. I guess when you're in Texas, that's what you aspire to become, a Texas Ranger. So I'm assuming the Texas Rangers are like this big tactical team or something. I don't really know. I'm not from Texas. I won't go to Texas. I think I'm wanted in Texas for a speeding ticket from years ago. So one of the jobs that he has, one of all these jobs he has, he trains all these people in firearms, is he's also the crime scene guy. He does the crime scene investigation. And one of his duties was to photograph the scene. And he takes a couple of photos of this truck. So here are some photographs of this truck. And interestingly, they had another Texas Ranger on after him, whose job it was to actually search that truck. And they found another, he didn't conduct the search until the next day. And it had rained overnight. So this drainage ditch is full of water. So he has to put on these wading boots to go in and search the truck. But he finds another AR-style rifle, automatic weapon, and hundreds of rounds of ammunition and shell casings, indicating the possibility that this guy was firing while he was in the vehicle. At least 4 or 5 shell casings found. I think it was 4. But anyway, back to this first police officer. So he's there just because he took photographs, and we want to see the photographs. Well, the defense turns that on its heel. He's got a good defense team. Let me tell you, they are putting these prosecutors to shame. He turns around and uses him as an expert. I'm like, oh, you're good. You're good. And it's this Irish guy, and he's got the most wonderful Irish accent. And the witness was like, whoa, didn't expect that accent. I don't know what this Irish guy is doing in Texas. He might be there just because I got the impression that this is their firearm guy. This is the guy that knows all there is to know about firearms, and he's helping the team because this defendant has 3 lawyers, 3 lawyers. So he may be their pro hoc vice is what they call it, where you're not really from Texas, but you can come into the courtroom in that particular, the judge will let you try that particular case with the assistance of local counsel. So you become part of the team, which is what happened with, Karen Reed. Those people weren't all from her state. They just came in for that case. I used to do that all the time. I would travel all over the country and get inter pro hoc vice into cases. Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, California. I've been everywhere. Pennsylvania, New Jersey. I was all over the place. Anyway, so they use this guy as his expert. So on this tactical team, like, you've got equipment, right? You got, like, tell me about your equipment. He goes, well, you're wearing a vest, right? Well, they're not all created equal, these vests. You got the good vest, right? This is not the vest, this is not your everyday vest. There aren't, and he explains. So the guy, he's trying to prove everything he knows. He's explaining all about these vests. Yeah, there's a light one that will maybe prevent a small handgun, all the way up to these heavy duty vests. And you had access to one of those, right? And you were going to use that, right? You put that on, right? Oh yeah, for your safety, right? Oh yeah. I thought this was so good. And you got an AR style rifle with you. Yeah, we do. Also, where were you when you learned about this? And he goes, well, we had responded to another part of Texas. They were an hour away from the crime scene when they get notified about this. So they proceed to the crime scene. So you were informed that this was going on, and it took you an hour to respond. And he goes, so that can't be the standard, just that you were informed. See what they're trying to do here? They're trying to take it that Adrian Gonzalez was informed by witnesses of where this gunman was. So that doesn't trigger a response from him. That's what he's trying to insinuate. Later on, the prosecution kind of cleans it up and says, well, he's like, well, you got to be present. If you're informed and you're present, then your duties are a little bit different. But I thought that was really good. He's using this guy as an expert. Good for him. Anyway, what else? He photographed the scene. I think. Oh, he said there is a policy in place that those external doors should be locked from the outside. Even the teachers' doors are locked from the outside. And he talked about the magnets, because one of the things he did after, during the investigation, after the shooting, he interviewed certain people. Not Adrian Gonzalez. He didn't know him, but he interviewed teachers and members of the school. And his conclusion was that the outer door was breached all the time. It was a problem. It was always breached. People knew how to use these magnets. They knew how to get into the doors. So here's what the prosecution brought out to counteract all this. That it doesn't matter what you're wearing or what firearm you are carrying, you need to engage to stop the killing. So they got that in to kind of clean up what the defense had just muddied the waters with. Then we get the next guy who drove all the way from Waco which is several hours away, which is why he didn't get to search that truck until the next day. It was a 2008 Ford F-150 that was in this drainage ditch. Here, did I show you the pictures? There's a couple of pictures of this thing. And it was searched over several days as the water was receding. They'd have to conduct more searches. Then we heard from Stephanie Hill. This is the first teacher we're hearing from. This is where everything goes awry. This witness. She was a third grade teacher at Robb Elementary during the school shooting. She is now working as a marketing person at a hospital, no longer teaching for obvious reasons. So she describes that this was an award day at school. It's the end of the school year. They had maybe like a week left, and the kids are getting awards. And when they get these awards, they're allowed to leave school with their parents if they want. Parents come, let's go out for breakfast, we're going to celebrate. We're going to McDonald's, whatever. So normally she would have 22 kids in her third grade class. After the awards that morning, she had 12 left. So they leave the awards. Apologize about that. They leave the awards, and she decides they usually after at this time of day there's a meeting that they have, but there was no meeting that day, so they had extra time. So she said, we're just going to have some extra recess time. So she takes these 12 kids, and they go in to get their lunch boxes and all that stuff to go out for recess. And as they're walking, and she showed on they have this big diagram of the school and the surrounding area, and she showed which way they went and which way they were walking. And at some point while they're walking, she hears this loud bang, and she said it sounded like, she described it two different ways: dump truck, garbage truck. I get what she meant. Like when you hear that loud bang that it makes when it's doing certain things. Stop with the phone calls. Urgent message. Okay, it's not urgent. So she hears this loud bang, and she thinks it's like the garbage truck. And she said, alarm bells are going off, because she says it wasn't the right time of day. She's heard this before. It's not an unusual sound, but it was the wrong time of day to hear that kind of a sound. So then she proceeds out to recess, and they very quickly, she starts hearing what she thinks are fireworks. And then there was a coach out there, and he's telling everybody go back in the building. So she takes all the kids and she goes back. She had 10 kids with her. Did I say 12? Okay, maybe 12 left, and she had 10. Anyway, but there was a lot of other classes out there. So they're corralling the kids into the building. And she said they had this saying. I didn't catch the saying, but it's part of their active shooter training, where they put them in a dark room. They put them in the room. They turn the lights out. They get away from the windows. They hide under the desk. And like I said, they all had scissors. Now, here's where things go awry. She testifies that after she hears these fireworks, she sees a man dressed all in black. Where'd you see him? He was on the south side of the building. So at the next jury break, the defense is asking for a mistrial and saying, we never heard that. That was never, no one, they're trying to impeach her. They're trying to get her to read things. This is not what you said to the investigating officer. You never said you saw this guy. No, but I told the prosecutor. When I met with her, I told her. So finally, they asked this witness, because the jury's gone. The jury, he had sent them out of the room. So finally, he tells the witness, okay, I need you to go with the bailiff and wait down the hall while we sort this out. So he makes the prosecutor raise her right hand, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And he's like, were you there were you conducting this interview? And she said, yeah. And she told me, and I just didn't. Well, did you think to ask her where she saw this guy and when? And no, didn't think to ask those questions. Then they put the prosecutor office's investigator on the stand, and he says the same thing. And you could tell he was upset about this. He's like, no, we didn't ask, nor did they tell the defense that this witness had seen the gunman, and so they could interview him or interview this teacher where, when, And this is something that always bugged me about criminal law. The defense just expects the prosecution to turn over everything they have, which I understand that. But the prosecution will set up witness interviews and you're invited to come. The defense can come to those interviews. They always just choose not to. They just says, if there's anything important, you're going to tell us anyway. You have a duty to disclose that to us. So they don't go to these interviews. And so here's where it ended. Oh my God, they won't leave me alone. This is these Medicare people. Stop calling me, Nancy. Stop. Anyway, Oh God, we're sorry about that. Totally lost my train of thought. God damn it. So here's where they left it at the end of the day. Because the judge is looking at the defense going, so what do you want to do? And they're like, well, we got to talk to our client about what he wants to do. It's his trial. We need some time with our client. So here's where they ended. They ended where he says they weren't going to have court this morning anyway, because somebody had a doctor's appointment, one of the jurors. So they were going to start at 1:30. Then he says, I'm going to bring the jury in. I'm going to tell them to come back on Thursday so we can sort this out tomorrow afternoon. This could end in a mistrial, you guys. If the judge finds that there was prosecutorial misconduct because they heard this information, and she keeps arguing, well, it's not relevant. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't add anything. He goes, well, you don't know the defense's strategy. It may very well affect the defense's strategy that because the defense is doing this whole timeline strategy. Where was this person saw him here and this person saw him here at this time and this time. They didn't have this to add into their timeline. They've been totally ambushed by it. And they got to find a way to deal with that. So if it ends in a mistrial, it just means they have to start over again. He's not off the hook. It just means they have to start over again. So it depends on what does their client want. Does the client want a mistrial? Does he want to start over again? Or does he want to, he may like this jury and he may want to proceed with the jurors that he's picked. You never know when you're talking to a client what they might want to do. I think if it was me, I'd probably just say, no, let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. Because I really think, based on what I heard yesterday, we are headed towards a not guilty verdict unless I hear more than what I heard yesterday. Because it sounds like this guy was doing what he was supposed to do, which is relay the information that he's getting from witnesses about what's occurring to other first responders. Like he didn't just run into there blindly. Like you've got to know where you're running. Now, people are going to argue that witnesses told him exactly where to go and he should have gone. And, maybe he should have. I don't know. They're going to have experts. They're going to analyze the response. But it was 8, I think he said 8.5 minutes total between the accident and this guy entering the building. 8.5 minutes that Adrian Gonzalez had to respond, to do something. Anyway. All right. So that's the show for today. I will watch Thursday's episode. I will recap for you what occurred on Friday. And if I can catch the hearing this afternoon, I don't know if they're going to show the hearing this afternoon. If they do, I'll watch it. I'll recap that for you as well. Like I said, it may end in a mistrial. Anyway, have a great day, everybody. Sorry, this was a long one. It was such an interesting case. And I will see you in the next video. I'm going to be live tonight for my weekly Whip and Chat with Color and Chat with Joanna, where we get together and we just, goof off. We're going to talk about my cruise. We're going to talk about some new releases in my store. It's going to be a fun evening. I'll see you then. That's at 7 p.m. Central Time. Take care, everybody.